Hi, welcome to another GoIndieNow live panel. Today we are discussing marketing without a budget. Thank you everyone for joining us, and I'm going to let my panel introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. I am Jason Lavelle. I also host a talk show called Spilling Ink, but today I'm here as an author to hopefully give some valuable insights, although, to be honest, I mostly just make everything up. So thank you so much for GoIndieNow for having me on tonight, and I'm looking forward to getting this rolling. Julie.
Hi, I'm Julie, and I write under JM Northup. I am an American author, and I also am a partner and owner of Norm's Triad Publications. I guess I'm here to represent both author and publisher. So.
And I'm Joe Compton. I am the author of the crime thriller A Mostly Killing and the soon-to-be released sequel, We the Moral Majority. And, of course, everybody knows me from GoIndieNow, so I'm here.
Woo! Go Joe! Yeah!
Well, I'm glad you're actually going to be on the panel as a one being grilled, Joe. That makes me very delightfully happy.
Me too.
Just wanted to say Rebecca Jonesy can't join us today, but it was her brilliant idea to have this panel topic. And she's just in Charlotte, and unfortunately the storms are delaying her from joining us, if not completely eliminating her. And
well, I heard that she's actually rescuing dogs and cats from the storm surge right now. So,
wow.
So she's doing something worthwhile, guys. It's all right.
I did not know that. Thank you for that update.
Yep.
And Richard is having technical difficulty and may be joining us. And I didn't introduce myself because I'm not good at this. Oh, Richard's here, and maybe not. I'm Marnie Cate, author of the Protectors of the Elemental Magic series, and I'm going to let Richard introduce himself.
All right,
Richard,
can you hear me?
We got a Richard. Do you have YouTube open at the same time?
No.
Okay, good deal.
Well, I do, however, it's on a different computer on mute, but that's...
Well, we are live right now, Richard, so
all right, yeah. Sorry, I just got back in here, and I think it's working now. All right, everybody. Hi, how are you? I'm Richard White, a multi-genre author. I write Western fiction, crime fiction, also espionage, and my favorite, poetry. I'm actually about to publish my next poetry book very, very soon. I'm hoping to have it all edited and finished up within the next few weeks.
Exciting. So today we are talking about marketing. And marketing without a lot of money.
Are you guys hearing that?
Yeah.
I think it's coming from Richard over there.
Yeah, I think we're good there for a second.
There we go.
So let me ask the first question. Do you utilize the groups on social media? If so, which platforms do you like best and why?
Mm-hmm. Who wants to take this?
Why don't you lead off, Jason?
Okay. You know, I'm not super new to writing and publishing. However, I am new to marketing. At least doing it the correct way. And I do use the groups on Facebook. My publisher actually has its own street team group where we can post our new releases or promo images. And what the idea is, you post something there, and our other crew members will share it for you and get the word out. And that way, even though it's one image, it's being spread over a much wider area. But as far as groups on Facebook goes, I don't do a lot of promoting with them, not specifically, you know, blasting them with, this is my new release, it's only 99 cents, pick this up. Some of my friends will do that for me, and that's great. However, I find that, at least when I'm looking at my Facebook notifications, and some of you may have this same experience, there'll be 15 notifications from Sarah posted in this group, Sarah posted in this group, Sarah posted in this group. And you know what? As bad as it sounds, I don't go and look at them. I don't. Every once in a while, it'll be a group I'm really interested in, so I'll click on it and I'll look. I'm like, oh, okay, so and so's doing this with an anthology. That's cool. But by and large, there are so many groups and so many people posting in all those groups that I really don't keep up with them anymore. And that's why I like having that dedicated street group or a street team group for my publisher, because I know that there's 75 people in there and we are all working together, but 75 people is a lot better than 10 million out there in the rest of the interwebs. So that's my take on advertising in groups. However, I do like to use the newsletter swap groups, but we can talk about newsletter swaps after we get rolling a little bit.
Yeah, I found, cheap plug, that GoIndieNow has its own group. It's called the Think Tank. Everybody go join. But I found that the interaction is a little bit more concentrated with a group, and it's you see a lot more. You get a lot more views and likes and shares through the group postings than you do, because I think with the groups, Facebook is very much concentrating on letting you guys see it more, so that because it's not on your personal timeline. So if you're part of a group, they'll more than likely notify you more so than if it was on your personal timeline, or on your business page. So I find that groups are very helpful for that respect. A lot of people see what I'm doing within groups more than they do on my own page.
Well, and that's 100% true. And like I just said, when I pull up my notifications, I see those notifications for the groups that I follow. I just think that sometimes these groups get so huge that it becomes just a lot of noise for people. However, if you've got your own dedicated group, if you've got your GoIndieNow group, what's the name of the GoIndieNow group, Joe?
Oh, the Think Tank.
The Think Tank. There we go. So if it's dedicated to you and you're shouting out to people that way, I think you've got a much better chance of being heard. I've got my little book club group, and I don't join people to it. I just post every once in a while and say, hey, this group exists. If you guys want to join it, go ahead. And, I don't even know how many people are in there, but I know that if I post something in there, they definitely respond. So I try not to clutter it up too much, though, because I don't want people doing the same thing I do and just saying, oh, it's just another post from Jason. I don't need to read that. So I'm trying to only post when it's actually something people are gonna respond to.
And I think it's also a great marketing tool, because then you can utilize hashtagging, you can utilize various, interaction that you would get lost on your personal page or even on your business page. And on your business page, it looks more inappropriate to post like Monday motivation than it does in a group. A group is more interactive. It has more. All right, Richard. We just hit the space atmosphere, everybody. So it has more interaction. You're able to actually physically interact and be social on these pages a lot more than within your own. Although I do see people now doing a lot more of personal interactions on their timeline pages, and that seems to be getting interaction as well. But for the most part, the groups are really where you can help utilize and hone your marketing, persona and prowess within that context.
Well, and yeah, let's let. I still have Richard. Is Richard still here?
And Julie, I think, just if she has any feedback on that, also be good to hear her opinion.
I actually have a book group in the groups on Facebook. I've kind of utilized some of the groups a little bit on Goodreads and on Google Plus, but I'm really not very active on that. Facebook is my main one. And I have JM Northup's book group because I want to try to connect readers, reviewers, writers, publishers, different services to each other. But I always encourage my members to adjust their notifications, because what I find is that I'm a part of a lot of different groups, but there's certain ones that I'm going to follow. And so that's the thing, is you never know who you're going to reach out to. You know what I mean? Because you never know when you're going to find somebody who's going to be inspired to read a book, or to, what kind of ad is going to catch their eye. So I do share out to all the different groups. And I actually had one author ask me, she said, I see groups that you will post in. And she's like, why are you posting to other authors? And I'm like, well, honestly, I'm not posting to other authors. First of all, we're writers or readers. I mean, I love books. I love reading. So I'm looking at the posts. I look at them more in my personal group, because that brings them more to my forefront, and then I can share them out from there, and I can, buy them from there, and I can interact with these authors and stuff better. But also, I'm like, the whole point of it is to get that information out. I'm posting into a group that says authors and bloggers, because you're trying to tap into, a way to contact these bloggers so that they can help share out. If you're a book blogger, this is a great resource. I use it. And I have seen a lot of positive response to it too. If I call them a run. If I take and I do a run with something, I do get responses. I do get interactions. I get likes. I get shares. And that's the whole point of it, is not everything is going to appeal to everybody. But when you do appeal to somebody, they're sharing it out and helping you out with getting the word to everybody.
That's
absolutely.
And Richard, we're going to try again and see if the mothership.
How about now?
Much better.
Okay. Sorry, I had my gaming sound on. I do have a Facebook group. I actually just started it recently, so I'm learning how to utilize the Facebook group. In the past, I've used my Facebook page and my own personal profile. However, I've been, just by watching some of the other authors that I work with, kind of the things go hand in hand with some different things that I participate in. I've seen them start using groups more. So that's my goal, is to start utilizing it more on a marketing end. I'm not sure if I'll use it for that. I think I want to use the group more for interaction with my readers, or interaction with my fans, and fellow authors as well. Eventually I will probably tie in some marketing somehow. I'm not sure exactly how I want to do it yet.
We do have another question from the viewers. Sandra.
Can you mute Richard while he's not talking?
Yeah, okay.
Here we go.
Sandra asked, with the changes to the Facebook algorithm, are author pages still relevant? And before anyone else, I'd like to say, I feel like my author page sees much less than my personal page. I feel like I get more interaction if I post stuff on my personal page.
Is that author pages for Facebook?
It is, and I have like 500 plus.
I just want to make sure.
And I feel like that's maybe part of the whole authors liking authors issue.
Well, and I think you're right, Marnie. I think that, I know that my author page gets almost no activity. I've got my few regular friends that will like the post because they have followed it, but I think that author pages just kind of get lost in the shuffle. I think that people respond a lot more to our personal pages and a lot more to our personal groups. And it's likely an algorithm thing. Facebook is largely pay to play now when you've got business pages. So if you are boosting posts, if you are paying to promote your page, then obviously people are going to see it. But other than that, it kind of gets lost there. If they're not looking for you, they're not really going to see you on your author page, at least in my experience.
And I think Facebook's initial idea of the author page was taken over by the indies. The initial idea was to allow celebrities a safe spot in which they could actually be on Facebook and not have to have to give out personal information and not just not interacting, but just so that they could have a safe space to be in. And I think somebody discovered that if you put that as your author page, and then it just kind of went down the hill like that. And I think it's becoming more and more irrelevant because of the group pages. And I think Facebook opened up the group pages for that reason, to kind of get it back to, Facebook is trying to very much get it back to where it started and how it started, because they ran into some turmoil and trouble, and things were starting to be taken over by the advertisers and the media, and so they're trying to get back to the social elements of what they were initially designing this site for. And I think that's why those pages, they're good for markers, but as far as using them for interaction and things like that, I would always go to a group, because a group has much more personable interaction. You can't on an author page, you can ask a question of the author, but it doesn't appear on the timeline, it appears on the side. And so it doesn't have that personable aspect to it that groups and other your own timeline have.
Yeah, and you're talking about being personable, and I agree with you, Joe. And something that I think it was a couple minutes ago when Marnie was talking about posting personal stuff, or maybe that was you, Joe. But I jotted that down because I wanted to share something that I thought was really interesting. A couple of years ago, and I won't say who it was. It was another author, and this author was always posting very, very personal information, not only on her personal page, but on her groups and on her business pages. And I was always just kind of like, whatever, to each their own. If it works for you, that's great. And I would just kind of casually watch them. And I found that the more personal the posts were, the more interactions she had. The less she posted about what she did for a living, the better. The more she posted about, oh, this really terrible thing happened in my life, then boom, all of a sudden 50 people were commenting. Whereas if she said, hey, check out this new book I just worked on, it was only a couple. And so I've kind of adopted that same strategy with my newsletters now, where I found that people respond a lot more to very personal newsletters, especially if you're relating something negative that's happened to you. And I think it's because when people read that, they feel like, oh, I can relate to that. I went through something similar to this. Or, oh man, this guy's having a tough time too, or he went through this too. And I'm not 100% sure that's what it is, but it's been this weird phenomenon. If I put out a newsletter that's all positive, and I'm doing a lot of promoting and giving away stuff, I won't get any emails back about that. People will go download the free books or maybe buy a couple books. But if I post about something tragic that happened at work last month, then I'll get a dozen emails saying, oh man, I went through something similar to that, and they really connect to it. So I thought that was really interesting how the public interacts with you that way.
I think you run into an issue where I keep my personal Facebook and my author Facebook very separate. I have very good interaction on both, but I don't put a lot of my personal life information on either. Honestly, I have kids, I have grandkids, I have family with kids, and so I actually restrict a lot of what can be seen. And I have a secret Facebook family group that we share pictures and stuff on, just to keep my private life private. But I do share my personality. I mean, it's about the content you're sharing and how that compares to, you know, when I'm on my author page, I'm going to share the things I think are funny that are related to books, literature, and grammar. You know, I think grammar humor is actually very funny to me. It's probably not to a lot of people, but to me, I find it hysterical. So I share that. And then on my personal page, I love cats and otters, so I share a lot of cats and otters. I mean, it's almost ridiculous. Probably 90% of my pictures are cats and otters. But it has its place. You know what I mean? And I don't cross over. I very rarely share my books and sales and such like that on my personal page and vice versa. Although I do have some crossover between them, I have very distinct audiences for each page. My crossover is about a third of the people who follow my book group, my author page, and my personal page actually follow all of them. So I try to keep them very unique, and I try to keep them tailored to what it's meant for. The book group is very much for, you know, let's share each other's stuff, let's share reviews, let's share, you know, hey, did you guys like this? Let's do polls, let's share funny things. And my author page is more for, I'm sharing my reviews, I'm sharing sales, not only of my own, but other people's. You know, I'm very much, if I'm not interested in it and it bores me, it's gonna not be interesting and it's gonna be boring to someone else.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily a factor of you know, if you're doing that personal story as much as if it's a relevant material that you're sharing.
Okay. Well, and Jonathan, just I'm watching the pop out chat too here, and Jonathan Strawthorne, he was asking a couple questions there, and I think what he was saying is asking if posting all this personal stuff takes away from the actual marketing. And so this is a good point: is how do we convert these personal accounts or these stories that we share with our social media friends into book sales? And that is a really tough one. And I think that if there was a straight answer for it, that a lot of us would be selling a hell of a lot more books. But in my opinion, Jonathan, and this is an insight that has been echoed to me by more than one person in the industry, and one of whom is actually Joe Compton over there in the corner, is that when you're interacting with people, you're not actually selling your books. You're selling yourself. You're selling your personality. When you think about this, there are millions and millions and millions of books on Amazon, a ton of them for free, a ton of them for 99 cents. How in the hell are you going to convince somebody to buy a book if they don't know you, if they don't think that, hey, this is kind of a cool guy, maybe I'll check out that book he posts about every now and again? And for me, that's the idea. I hate seeing spam posts all the time, but you know what? If a friend of mine who's an author is giving me funny memes throughout the day, and then boom, hits me with a book ad in the evening, I'm good with that. I'm cool because you made me laugh or you kept me entertained with a story. And yes, I'll be a lot more likely to check out your book if I think you're a cool person. So that's my take on it, Jonathan.
Well, and the thing is you can display your personality without being too revealing or intimate. You know what I mean? Like, people know I have kids. They don't need to know everything about that. You know, so
I posted a picture of me in a really sexy ladies bathing suit once. It didn't get the attention I thought it would.
well, I'm going to go look it up now. So I just want you to know. You might get a book sale because of that. You should be holding your book with it.
So, Richard, do you have an opinion on that at all?
Yeah, I feel the same kind of way as Jason does, and being that the more personable you are, and I'm going to echo what he said. I got that from some of that information from Joe from some of our late night chats. Is being more personable with your readers and your fans and even friends and family, because I'll tell you, your friends and family are the harder sell than a complete stranger is. I can talk to a complete stranger, and in 15 minutes, they're interested in at least something that I'm doing. However, my friends and family are like, it's just Rich. So you have to, those funny memes or, something of the sort. I've actually gone as far as to creating my own memes using the Kermit the Frog, none of my business thing. All the ones that are repetitive that many people enjoy, rather as comical or informational. And I'll create my own meme using something from my book or something from my own personality and post that. And people get me that way. And the more I post like that and then post something on my book, I have more apt for sales. But I've had friends sit right down and tell me, I've unfollowed you or unfriended you just because I'm sick of seeing the stuff from your books. Because they're my personal friends. And it's like I've seen it over and over again. It's like, so that's all I see all the time. So so if you're in, like Jason was saying, it's more like spamming it. If it's just your book. So, I mean, I'm more personable on my personal profile. People will think I am probably the biggest jerk, and some other subjective words that quite a few adjectives I'm quite sure that people could come up with when they first read some of the stuff that I post. It's just, I find it funny. I have a sick sense of humor. It's probably because I'm a veteran, so I can get pretty deep and dark about some of the things that I find humor in, where other people are going to go like, "Are you really serious?" But people get me like that. They know that that's my personality. They know that that's who I am. And, and I can take those things and turn them around and use it with my book and post it like that. And if I post something humorous with a meme and then my book link in it, I'm more apt to get a family or a friend to click on that link, whether they're going to buy it or at least click on it, before just sharing the Amazon link over and over and over again.
Oh, 100%, 100%, man. And yeah, I think that friends are the toughest sell. I actually have one of my best friends who years ago told me, you should really be promoting your book more on social media. I have other friends that wrote a book and they promote it all the time. But now that I promote my books, he doesn't buy them. Like, what the hell, man?
We have
somebody else.
We have a new person joining us real quickly, but and I'll let him. Well, I'm now taking this over. Sorry, Marty. Marty's gonna have him introduce himself in a second, but I just want to say one quick point, and that is simply, we all want to believe that we wrote the great American novel, or that we've written something that's so unique and so different and so viable. And maybe you have. Maybe you've reinvented the wheel, or you've done something that nobody's ever done before. That's all well and good. But the only thing that separates your vampire story from Anne Rice's is you being you. That's the only thing that's going to sell it, is yourself. And so in order to, the distinct advantage we have, especially as being indies, is that we have this opportunity to interact with people who we will not just interact with, but will become friends with and talk to and enjoy one another's company and help one another out. And that's what makes our community so unique and different. And being a part of that is your complete and utter advantage. And if you don't take advantage of it, then that's why you're losing traction and you're not getting sales. And that you can be as impersonal as you want, and you can think that that's how the big guys do it, so I'm going to do it that way. But ultimately what everybody's been saying, people unfriend you, people don't pay attention to you, they don't hear you. And the only way to get that across is by being yourself and showing who you are.
Exactly. As Joe mentioned, we do have a late joiner. Con Lavery has decided to pop in and host the show now.
Oh,
Take
wow.
the wheel, Con. Take the wheel.
Hey, guys. How are you? Good.
So we're talking about, have you been listening so you have a kind of an idea of what we're talking about?
No, I just got back home, so I'm a little late, but I made it.
Okay. So we're talking about marketing without a budget. So
Okay.
And we did have a question that we kind of answered, but I'm still gonna, since someone in the audience mentioned it, they said, "How do you get people to join or interact with a group when you're a new author and no one knows who you are?"
Can I
That's
take
a good question.
I think the best way to do it is like what we've said. You get involved in the different groups, you interact with people, you build a network, you build a presence, because you are selling yourself. You're selling your label, you're selling your market, your brand. But the only way you're going to get known is to put yourself out there and to make yourself, for me anyway, really just it's the give and take within our community that I find to be the most rewarding and to be the best way to handle marketing through social media. I share their stuff, they share mine, but I'm not doing tit for tat. I'm doing like, wow, I really genuinely like this book. This looks cool. I'm going to share it, and if you want to share mine, that's really cool. I appreciate that. But I don't, you're not doing it to try to get somebody to do something for you. You're doing it because you genuinely care and you want to be a part of this community.
I think Richard has something to add to that too. He had just posted something there. Could we unmute him?
Yeah, I was one of the things that or ways that I've gained some people in my new group that I had started. A lot of the different groups, other groups that I'm in, such as Our Right Side, and some of the other groups, the kind of like the help groups for writers and authors and such. Once in a while, they'll post a thread that'll say, post your group here or something with a nice little catchy thing with it. And you just post your link in there to your group as a comment. And it's basically a continuous thread. And I myself, I'm a fan of many genres. I'll go through that thread when I'm sitting there in the evening, and I'll just go through each group. And if I find somebody's group that's interesting, that's along the genre that I like to read, and that has something catchy in it, I'm going to ask to join that group. And I've had people join my group because of that and gain new followers. And some of the new followers I've gained have actually private messaged me and asked me, different questions or different things on design or my writing or some of the, different things. So I think that's one of the biggest things I think that I have found in the past 2 years is indie authors helping indie authors. That is probably the reason that I've continued doing this in all reality, because 2 years ago I met Joe alongside of everybody that's a part of Brain to Books and the cyber convention that's online. And I have had so much more success and reach to readers, fans, and other people, and just so much better relationship with other authors and with other people because of the things I've picked up. Where when I was out there flying solo, I was stuck. I didn't know what to do, because I am a new author and I cross genres, so it's even tougher.
All right, for all you introverts out there.
What's that, Joe?
I said, for all you introverts. For all you introverts out there, I'm going to tell you something that you may not like to hear or want to hear, but it is very, very important to hear. Your computer is not the only thing that can help you in this endeavor. You can get out and speak to people. There are book conferences and writer groups and places to go and meets and greets. And I'll talk about something that I just recently discovered. Hopefully later on when there's a question that involves that, and I'll pontificate a little bit more on that later. But getting out and being interactive with people and being face to face with them helps tremendously grow your network as well, and just even I understand that they cost money and everything. You have to weigh your good with your bad. You can't just drive to Phoenix if you're living in Ohio. I get it, but there are stuff within your own community that are free, like writing groups and library meetups and places. I'm sure Con can add to this because I know Calgary is very, very rich with all this.
Oh, yeah.
But there is a ton of things you can do outside of your little box here that can help you and tremendously help you grow.
Yeah, and I've always been kind of on that side of the fence because I've never been too big with online forums and stuff. It was just something I could never grasp around. I was always more of a creeper. So I kind of went out and went to conventions and built a network through that way and got to meet other authors in similar places or have different skill sets or in completely different places in their career and share and learn through each other. And we keep in touch through social media. And then when we go to the conventions, we all kind of meet back up because we all live in different cities. So I found that kind of in-person connection has really helped a lot.
So I know book signings and conferences are great, but are there things like bloggers? Does anyone still use that? Is that something that we find is affordable?
I spent an entire day before the release of my last book writing to different book bloggers, book reviewers. And there's actually, I had bookmarked this site because I thought it was really good. It's a site that actually lists book bloggers. Why are you not coming up here? Get back over here. Okay, let's see. It's just called bookbloggerlist.com. And it's free. You don't have to pay anything. I think you have to sign up for their newsletter, which is pretty standard. But they have a huge long list of book bloggers that not only have the name of the blogger and their website, but a little blurb from each of them saying what they're willing to review and blog about. And do these convert into potential sales? Possibly. Is it going to be huge sales numbers? Not necessarily. But really, when it comes to your sales, when it comes to Amazon, what you want to go for is consistency. Even if you're selling 2 books a day or 5 books a day, it's going to be a lot better than selling 50 books one day and then nothing for a week. So what you want to do is kind of try to be constantly bringing in just a little bit of business and instead of trying to go for that big fish all at once. Now, that doesn't mean if you land a book bub, that's not a good thing because it's going to be great. It's going to improve your visibility. You're going to have a lot more potential readers and reviewers. But really, reaching out to those little book bloggers out there and book reviewers can be an awesome thing for you. And most of them don't cost any money at all. I wrote maybe 40 or 50 of them, and I only got responses from maybe 15. But really, that's not that bad a conversion rate. When you figure those 15 people are reaching however many fans they have and connecting that way. But yeah, so I think book bloggers are definitely worth a go. But I did want to say one more thing about Facebook, if I could. We were talking a lot about groups and whether or not it really helps and how to get attention. I think it's really important for all of you to learn a little bit about cross-marketing and cross-promoting your books. Finding author groups and other authors that write in your same genre can be invaluable to you. I write suspense thrillers. So when I'm looking at author groups and other authors, I'm looking for suspense authors. And I'm looking to make friends with them and then set up maybe cross promotions with them where, hey, you know, I'll post some stuff of yours, you post some stuff of mine. Maybe we'll trade newsletters and have you featured in my newsletters, because that way I know that I'm going to be reaching readers that already like my genre. And I'm not just shouting blindly into the void like you do on Twitter. So I think that cross promoting with other genre similar authors is very important for all of us, and it's not something you have to pay to do. All it takes is looking up your favorite authors or searching for thriller author and see what pops up and make some connections that way. And don't forget that social media marketing, the number one word in that is social. You've got to be social. It's not just posting that Amazon link. So make sure that if you're going to hit somebody with a book ad every day, that you're also giving them a personal story earlier in the day to keep them entertained. So, but all right.
That
was my rant.
Going back to blogging, one of the things that I wanted to bring up is they had a lot of blogging pages on different social media, and a lot of those pages have basically become archived because of different algorithms or different stipulations that the different mediums have applied to them. And so a lot of blogging reviewers and such have actually shut down their stuff. I've reached out to quite a few of them, and they said we no longer do it. They were getting put in Facebook jail. They were, all these different things, or they've converted it over to where it went from being something that they did as a hobby and enjoyed to now they're going to charge for it, and it's going to, and some of the prices are pretty out there. I don't think you should have to pay for a review. I think if a person is interested in your book, that's what an honest, genuine review is. I don't think I should have to pay you for it. Like I had, my partner actually paid for a review from one of the companies. I'm not going to say which. And I could honestly tell you from reading their review, they read the first chapter and the last chapter. That's it. And so I think going the pay route is not appropriate. So you have to really, when it comes to the blogging part, you have to really know who's really in it for what reason. You know what I mean? So there's
there's a site for that too, and I've actually got that bookmarked as well. That will give you a rundown of all of these, not only book contests, but book reviewers and book bloggers. And it gives you a little rating scale on, is this person trustworthy? Are they charging? Is this just a scam? Is this just whatever? So the website is actually called selfpublishingadvice.org, and they have an author beware, and it's a whole huge, long, very comprehensive list of all of these review companies and contest companies. And I'm looking at it right now. So we've got Arnold Bennett Prize recommended, Awake International Poetry Contest, caution, and then it'll give you details on that. And it's really useful because, like you said, there are a ton of them out there that charge now. I got an email that was just a cold call that said, "Hey, I loved your book. I really want to review it. Come check out my site." And it was you pay me $95 and I'll post a review of your book. However, the problem with these pay-for-review sites, and this is actually good to address here because some people might not know this. If you pay someone for a review, they can't post that review on Amazon. They can't. They will get blacklisted by Amazon. So you may think that you're getting this good publicity, but all they can do is post a review on their little website, and that's it. That's as far as it goes. And that's why when I'm looking at bloggers or reviewers, I'm looking at all the free ones, because That way, I don't care if they're just posting it on their site. I didn't invest anything in it except for a couple minutes in front of the computer. So definitely beware of all of the pay for review sites. And I know it's tempting because you'll see their reviews on their website and they look amazing. You'll be like, oh yeah, I want somebody to say that about my book. But really, you might as well just say it yourself because it's not going to do any good.
Google Play takes it a step further. They take both you and the reviewer down for 30 days to review to make sure that you're not a spammer.
Whew.
So they even take it a step further. So if you pay for a review and they post it to Google, which they can do, Google that alerts Google's algorithm and they shut you completely down and do an investigation for 30 days.
Not worth it, guys. Don't do it.
Amazon, I won't pay for it, and because I'm KDP Select, but I do want to put out there that when I was publishing larger, there are other platforms that do encourage you to like give your free books for a review. You know what I mean? Whereas Amazon, that's not allowed. On Barnes and Noble for Nook, they actually have it written in their stuff saying you should go and do this, give a free book for a review. So that being said, one of the things that you want to really pay attention to for your marketing and stuff is if you're investing your time and money in something, you need to understand what the rules are. That's probably the most important thing, because what you can do on one platform, you're not going to be able to do on another. What you can do on Goodreads, you cannot do on Amazon. And they're owned by the same company. Amazon will not pull down information from Goodreads. They've actually had stuff that's been proven it's a scam, and somebody's out there just doing stuff to mess with people's ratings and stuff. And they're like, we won't take anything down on Goodreads. On Amazon, they'll pull you down in a heartbeat. If somebody has the same last name as you, they're not going to be able to review your book because they think that's too close. They might be, biased.
Yeah, and Goodreads is really like the Wild West. It really is. And I know Goodreads was on our list of things to potentially bring up because I know they do run giveaways, and I've done a couple paperback giveaways on Goodreads. But to be honest, I don't go anywhere near it. It's like a danger zone. That's like jumping right into the deep end. I don't mess with it. If you are hardy, if you've got like shark thick skin and you just don't give a crap at all, go for it. Go play around on Goodreads. But it is a dangerous place to be, guys.
Instant freebie. Insta freebie is a better place to go if you're going to do a giveaway.
I love Insta freebie.
In my personal opinion.
Yes, and that is, I'm glad you said Insta freebie, Joe, because now I can go into another topic. Yes! So since we're talking about marketing on a budget, I use Insta freebie to create what I call, and what other people call, reader magnets. So I have my Insta freebie account. I have 4 free short stories up there right now. They've all been previously published in magazines, but that copyright is expired, so I went and published them there. They're not available anywhere else. But to get those stories, you have to sign up for my newsletter, and then you can download that book completely free. And what that does is gives me a chance to kind of rope people into my newsletter family. And what I do after that is I have it set up to where anytime someone joins my newsletter, the next day they get an email from me that said, hey, thanks for joining up. Here's another free story for you. A couple days later, hey, did you like the free story? Tell me what you think. Sometimes I get emails about it, sometimes I don't. But it's a great way of getting new subscribers and very few unsubscribers because you're giving them free shit. And people love free stuff. They love it. Every newsletter I send out has at least 2 free books in it. It has my paid stuff in there as well. But people love that. They love getting free stuff and the personal stories. So yeah, Insta freebie, that's awesome. And you can go the totally free route with Insta freebie, or I pay, I think, $20 a month, something like that, for a subscription. That way I can have my customized newsletter filtering on there. But yeah, that's the best place to go, Joe. Insta freebie is awesome. And I know there's another company like it. Is it BookFunnel? I haven't used BookFunnel, but I know that some other authors do. So yeah.
So that I'm going to actually take it back a little bit and ask about Facebook, because Richard's been dying to talk about this because he loves them. Facebook parties as a tool to market your books. So is that something that we find is useful? Do you enjoy Facebook parties? I know I've been a part of many. I don't enjoy them, but that doesn't mean they're not a good thing. I don't enjoy a lot of things that people like. So what do you guys think on that?
I don't like um I have Facebook parties for some reason just drive me crazy. Now, if you're running a Facebook event and hosting an event for like a book launch, I think it's different. But when it comes to the Facebook party thing, and I deal with this actually quite a bit because my wife is a 31 consultant and she sells the 31 bags. So she does Facebook parties. And unfortunately, I happen to have to be a member to this lovely group. So
we have a couple of those bags here.
Yeah. It drives me absolutely bonkers because the notifications come in ridiculously. And it's just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And it really drives me nuts with the parties. But within the event, and I will not be able to answer that question completely, event versus party, the differences between it, because I'm not real sure if my idea of the difference is correct or not. But when it comes across as a Facebook event, it's more like it's more like a meet and greet type deal, but it's on Facebook in a sense. And you're hosting an event versus a Facebook party, I guess. It's just for some reason for me, it's different. I'm not sure what the difference is, but it just is. I mean, a big one that really drives me absolutely bonkers are these live, the live videos of the pearls. And they're going back and forth, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's pink! Oh, and you won it!" And and they're drawing numbers and stuff. It drives me absolutely crazy. And I don't know, I don't even know how I end up seeing these things because I don't follow people very much. But I see them in my newsfeed, and it's like block, ignore, delete. um, I personally don't really like them. I've attended a few events that people have done or slash parties or whatnot. And I think I was invited to one shortly after Brain to Books this year, and I attended it. I was confused at what was going on in the group because there was I guess author takeovers during a certain block of time, during a certain hour or something. And I was really confused. I'm waiting for this live video thing to pop up and, actually listen to something about it. And it was just two posts and then it was done. Or play this game and then it was done. And I'm like, wait a minute here.
I've seen quite a bit of when it started. Generally, a party is something that's going to be themed. If you have a romance party or whatever, then you're going to have it where you're going to have certain genres represented. And a lot of times with the parties, they'll have multiple days for it so that they have different genres on different days. And then when you have an event, it's more like a book launch or a re-release or something to that effect. I will not pay for them. When you do them, it is like a meet and greet, but you have a certain time period that's set up for each author will sign up for a certain time period. Usually it's either a half hour to an hour block. There are ones that are free and there's ones that are paid for. They used to be very popular, but then people started realizing, certain genres or certain groups that you would sign on with started just drawing the same audiences. And so you weren't getting, reaching out to a new audience or a new batch of readers or whatever. And I won't pay for them because you spend money when you do it because you run little games or little quizzes or you say, hey, go in and like my page and then put liked in the comments. And then at the end of, my time or at the end of the party or event or whatever, I'm going to do a raffle and you could win a free book. So you're giving away stuff in there as the incentive to draw people in during your time block. And when I've done the parties, I've spent, probably on average a good $15 to $20 for like an hour time block. So I'm not going to pay somebody, $20 to $50 to be a part of it, and then that on top of it. That doesn't make sense to me. But I am okay with paying to give a book away, because with being KDP, I have to gift a book through KDP, which means other authors who are not KDP exclusive, they'll just give their PDF, or they'll convert it to an EPUB or mobile. Being KDP Select, I actually have to buy the book and gift it through. So I'm paying full price for the ebook to give it to somebody. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with giving to a reader who's really interested. But I think that the problem is that there's a saturation that's been happening that's causing, there's some events that just seem to draw the other authors. So during your time frame, you only have like the author before and the author after and the monitors, and maybe one or two friends, and maybe one or two readers who frequent these to get the free items. But you're not getting the reach that they were designed for or that they used to have anymore.
Well, I think you're right. I've done a couple parties, and I've hosted a couple release parties, and what I think is really important for all of you that are watching and all of us here to remember is, again, those parties are about social interactions, not necessarily converting every post into a book sale. Because I may do a party and I've spent 2 weeks planning on it and spent whatever money on getting all these people involved, and I sold 10 books that day. And who knows if it had anything to do with the party. However, what those parties do is helps people get to know these different authors. I think when you do these parties, they should be a lot about having fun, making it fun for anyone who's involved, and less about selling a book. We all want book sales, but remember, again, this is social media marketing. All we want to do is get them to start paying attention to us and liking us. That way they're going to give that book a chance when they see it. They might have to see you post about a book a dozen times over a 2-month period before they decide finally, hey, I'm going to pick this up, because I'm starting to really like this guy. But remember that we're trying to be personable. We're trying to get people to like us, because if they like us, they're going to be a lot more likely to buy that book.
I think if you're new to the Facebook aspect of parties and things like that, I think you should try them. I think you'll get that initial bump that everybody got the first time they did it. The problem that, like Julie was saying, I believe Julie said this, that you start to run into the same people at the same event over and over and over again, and then it becomes moot because they already follow you. They already have your book. They already, subscribe to your newsletter. So the key is to go to. There's a lot of Facebook groups out there that have like author takeover events that they post, and finding those new interactions and looking at the analytics too. Look at the numbers. Look at how many people have said that they're going to attend this event. Look at how many people say they're thinking about it. I forget the term that the Facebook uses. Somebody can tell me, but it's interested. People who say they're interested. If they say they're interested, and there's more interested than there are going, don't attend that Facebook party because nobody's going. The interested people are doing it to be nice, to say, hey, I'm interested, but I'm not really going. So, and some of them do. Some of them will pop in every once in a while. So you might get lucky with a few of those, but you have to play the percentages on that. But really, truly, look outside the box. I mean, that's what this is all about, really. Finding the spot in which nobody else has been before, or you haven't been before, and honing in on that. And that's the key to that. That's how you have success at these things. And if you do them over and over again, you're going to run into walls. So do a couple, take a break. Go and do a couple more. And I usually do them in like 6-month increments. I'll do them for like a month, and then I'll take 6 months off and go back and do them again. I haven't done them in a while, actually, and that's simply because I haven't been writing as much as I want to be. So I don't have a whole lot to share. Although if I can, put GoIndieNow out there, I will. But otherwise, it's typically. I think if you're new and you've never done it before, I think you should really, really do it, because you will get a bump. You will get a bump on your pages, your likes. You'll get a bump on the interactions, the analytics of what you're doing, and people will. And it's just like Jason said, you got to be personable, you got to be social. But if you do that, you'll find that you'll get that initial bump, and that initial bump will help you, especially if you're doing a launch. So take that, and measure that aspect of it.
Joe and Marnie, I know that you guys are trying to get on to final questions now. Would you mind if I relate a little personal story here real quick before you do, though?
Sure.
Okay. So the first book I published, The Cold Room, I didn't publish it until I was 32, something like that. It took me a long time before I finally actually did it. And I was really excited about it. And my goal for that book was I wanted to sell 100 copies, because I just thought that would great. They'd be great. It'd make me smile. For the first year and a half The Cold Room was out, it was selling 40 copies a day consistently. It sold very well for me by my standards. I was really pleased with that. And do you want to know what I did for marketing on that? Nothing. I did absolutely nothing. When it came out, I was all over Facebook saying, "Oh, hey guys, I wrote my first book. I'm so excited about this." I wasn't a part of any author groups. I wasn't a part of any help groups at all. It was just family and friends. But for whatever reason, the book caught on, and it started selling, and it kept selling. And there was no rhyme or reason to it at all, except for it just happened to get lucky and slide into a slot where the algorithms picked it up on Amazon. They kept promoting it, and so people kept on buying it. And that's all there was to it, luck. However, I've talked to men and women that spend $2,000 to $5,000 a month on advertising, and they are making $500,000 a year. I don't have $2,000 to $5,000 a month to spend on advertising. So to everyone else out there watching, you don't have to spend the big money. You don't have to. And your book may not sell 40 copies a day. It may sell 1 copy a day. And that's okay too, because you're still reaching readers. And that's the whole reason we're doing this. If you're trying to do this to make money, you are definitely doing the wrong thing. Get your readers first, get your personal connections first, and then the sales will follow down the road. I don't know if I had anything else to say about that. Sorry, Marnie, I kind of went off on a tangent there.
That's okay. That's great information. Well, let's take it a step here. Facebook, we know, social media, but what about getting out and meeting people? For example, I do the Phoenix Renaissance Fair every year. Lady Chamberlain has a bookstore there, and she is gracious to let authors come and sell their books for the day. And I've actually met some very nice people that love my series based on just meeting me and being able to talk about it. And I know Con might actually be someone to talk about signings, because let's be honest, Calgary, Edmonton, Canada just loves its authors. They seem to have so much more to offer for independent authors. And maybe I'm just because I live in where I live that I don't see these opportunities. But do you find that signings are where you have your most success?
Yeah, actually, those have been quite good. The nice things about some of the signings with like mom and pop shops and some of the big ones like Indigo and Chapters is they let you set it up for free, and they just take a cut off of each sale. So it's, in a way, it's free, and then you should still make money if you're pricing your books right. And it's pretty straightforward, where you just either call them, or if you happen to be walking down the street, you go into the store and talk to the manager and schedule a book signing. And then I found that works really well. It's a little bit of a door-to-door salesman approach, because you do have to do a bit of traveling, not just in your own city. Those help a lot because people like to find local authors and stuff. But if you want to broaden your reach, you really have to start driving around. And it's helpful to try and line up book signings with some of the conventions you might be going to. Like if you're going to travel across the province or across the state, find a store nearby or on the way, then do a signing the day before and then do the convention following. So that way you're kind of making the best use of your travel time. But overall, yeah, they've been quite helpful with finding new readers, and probably the most effective way. Because again, as I mentioned, online was never my strongest point, but in person, I do quite well with those, and the conventions seem to really help, especially if they let you submit presentations or panels, because that's another way you can meet new potential readers and engage and network with other people. Because with panels, you generally need more than one person, so you get a group of authors for a panel. You're all on the panel talking to a bunch of interested writers and fans, and then you've got people manning your booth. So essentially getting two different ways of contacting people at the same convention. And then once you're finished the talk, you go back to your booth, and then they come and find you after. So it's a really great way to network and meet with people.
Is anyone else had any luck with signings or?
Yeah, I think that's where you get the sales. You want to talk about sales aspect of what we do. The social media, as Jason has so eloquently put tonight and done such a wonderful job expressing, the idea of social media is to be social. Well, the idea of the book sales and book signings is the same aspect, but mixing in the salesmanship of it. And you're there because people are coming to this event to buy stuff. That's why they come to this event, or at least look at books that are out there. They're not there to wonder about your cat or the 10 reasons why you like this movie or that movie. They're there to look at books and be part of the event and to maybe buy some books. And they're going to buy the book from the guy who approaches them and is social with them and talks about them, talks about stuff with them, but they're also going to buy the book. And that's the difference between the social media. At social media, people are going to buy your book eventually. Social media is the slow burn. The book events and the book signings are the accelerated pace. You want to try and push and do salesmanship at these books. Not push and push, but that's the wrong adjectives. But you want to present yourself as a salesperson at these events, because that's where you will actually sell things.
And that's a tough skill to learn, because you want to engage with people, but you don't want to be that like one of those kiosk guys at the mall that tries to sell you perfume or something, or they're essentially waving in your face. You want to be engaging but not pushy. So it's kind of an art form, and that is the art of selling at these conventions and whatnot. And the book signings are a bit different from the conventions, where the conventions you generally pay for a booth depending on the size of one. So that's the downside to that. But the plus side is all those sales are yours. Where with the bookstores, it's free, and that's awesome. You just show up, you start selling, but you make a lot less per book sale. So they're both have their pros and cons to them, because you do have to dish out that initial cash when you're doing a convention.
And you have to learn. And at the book signings forgive me if I'm wrong here, but I think most of the time at a book signing they'll have you read for a little bit as well. So you have to learn that subtle skill as well. There's a subtle art to reading, doing a reading at one of these events as well.
Oh yeah. Especially if you're doing like an in-person launch or a special event at a store or whatnot, you have to learn to read your book live to people, and that's a whole other skill, and your mouth gets dry and you get the sweats, and it takes a lot of practice and repetition, and then it is something you can't actually lose over time, so it's not like a bike where you remember it if you just pick it up right again.
Well, and now, since this show is about marketing on a budget, do you feel like going to these conventions where maybe you're spending a few $100s on a booth? Do you recoup that cost in book sales, or are you just trying to sell a handful of books and meet people?
That's actually a really good question because I used to lose money. And then there was a point where I broke even, and now I'm actually making money. So it's been this long, long process. And it actually makes a lot of sense when I used to take like photos of the booth setup. And I think it was a couple months back, I looked at some of my photos of my first booth 5 years ago, and I don't know what I was thinking. You didn't know what I was selling. You didn't know what it was about. You didn't know it was about books or even the genre. So I've learned a lot about just presentation. So I'm sure that was a big problem with
what I recommend too, if you're doing that, is to go local. Minimize your cost. Go to the places that are closest to you and the events that are closest to you, so that you can just drive there. And you'll minimize your costs. You don't have to ship books or run ragged or try to, ship anything to a hotel or get a hotel. Go and do an event that's closest to you, and that will minimize your costs. And then you'll start to get that comfort level. And that way you may lose money at the beginning, but you're only losing less than you would have if you had jumped, if you live in New York and you've gone to California to a book conference, you tried to go to the Comic-Con in California, you would lose a ton of money doing that. But if you live in New York and you go upstate to the upstate fair or whatever, you'll be able to, at least lose the minimal amount that you possibly would lose. And then you get that experience of being there. And that's all what it is. It's all about gaining that experience. As Con said, you have to keep doing it and doing it. And as you keep doing it and doing it, you get better and better at it. And when you do that, you'll start to reap the rewards, and then all of that will have become worth it.
Well, and I went recently to a local show right here in my town, and it wasn't a convention. It was just a little book expo. But there were 40 authors there, 40 Indian small press authors there. And so I just wandered around and talked to all of them and have them give me all their book pitches. And it was wonderful. I thought it was great. And there weren't a lot of potential customers wandering through there. I mean, the people would trickle in off the street. It's always tough to get people in for that kind of thing. However, I think one of the coolest things about these events is that all of the authors are in the same room. They're all able to interact with each other and develop these friendships that may have only been online before, and learn from them. And hey, how do you do your pitch, or what's your one-line sell for your book? How can I make mine better? And I went around and I looked at all these different covers, and I'm like, oh my God, some of these covers are just out of this world good. And I wasn't expecting it, because I know a lot of these authors are indie authors. And so I got to network with them on, who did you use for your covers? Who was your designer? And I think that those are important things to learn as well, because there's a lot of us out here, and we all got to be looking out for each other. I mean, we do. They say you look out for number one, but in this business, I think you're looking out for all of us. Because when one of us does well, if Joe blows up, I am going to be happy as hell for him, and you guys. And I think that's the beautiful thing in the indie community, is that we try to love each other. We try to raise each other up for the most part.
Yeah, we're all kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
I think if you do get a chance to go and do a signing and you have another author there with you, I was able to have Summer Hanford there with me, and I didn't know her and I didn't know her series, but we were able to help pitch each other's stuff. And it was like a really win-win, because when people would come up to our table, we'd ask a little bit of questions. I say, well, my book is more this, but I really think you're going to enjoy hers. And by the time we were like selling each other's books by the end of the thing, and that built like a great, I think, friendship, and also appreciation for each other's work. And we also sold some books.
Yeah, that's another way to save costs. Go in with another author at a table, and a local one, and do it together, and get that experience. So I think that's pretty. I thought that was the cool thing about When Words Collide. On the sales night, they had these tables, and you shared it. Some of them shared it with 2 or 3 people. Some of them got their own table, but sharing with two or three people, it was really interesting, because then you have at least we had different genres represented where I was standing too, so it was pretty cool. So you get that experience, and I think that really helps a lot.
And I think Lady actually has our final question of the evening.
Lady, what's your question? What's your question?
You want to know our three out of the box ideas for marketing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's interested.
All right. 3 out of the box ideas. Anyone?
Lady says, eat the box.
Well, I'll start with something I just recently discovered that I think is going to be really helpful for a lot of people, because I've discovered that you can do it in virtually any place you want to. And I'm sure this is something that a lot of people already knew about, but I just recently discovered it, and I've been, I'm pretty savvy on the internet, so I'm really excited that I have found something new, and it's called Meetup.com. And Meetup.com is this place where you can go and sign up for groups that are local to you, that are actual interacting groups, human beings going to a spot and hanging out, and they have everything you want. They have author groups, they have reader groups, they have writing groups, they have film groups. And the one thing I discovered is I joined 2 groups, and then all of a sudden I got invitations to like 25,000 groups. I mean, like my inbox was flooded with invitations. Oh, you're in this group, you should come join our group. And of course, I don't have that kind of time to be it. My whole month was taken up if I went to all these events. But picking and choosing the ones that work for you is very helpful. And I thought that was a really cool idea, because it's very hard for a lot of us to find where locally we can get support. And I think that is one place I would check out for sure. If you've never been there, it's called meetup.com, MEETUP.com.
And does anyone else have any of their top 3, or even near 1, if you don't have 3 on hand? I know Richard's wanted to talk about something, so we have to probably unmute him.
I have the power to do that.
Oh, you do?
Sure do. Out of the box, I've actually started a new Patreon page, and I think that's where I feel like that's where I'm going to go out of the box, with doing live readings of my poetry. And that's how I think I want to use it to promote my new works in progress, especially my poetry book. Now, I don't know how everybody feels about the Patreon thing. I'm new at it, so I am building it, and I'm just learning how to use it and everything. But that's a whole nother thing that I have to market on top of marketing my books and drawing people to my blog and such. But I think another one, it's not really out of the box, it's standard, but you can go out of the box with it in a catchy way, is using your newsletter.
I think one of that is kind of an out of the box thing that I know some authors have done. I've not personally done it, but it's kind of a cool idea, is whenever they're traveling or whatever, you know how people are sitting at the doctor's office waiting and they're reading a magazine or a book, or you're on a plane, and people are, oh, what are you reading? They'll be reading their own book, and they'll like pass them off to people, and they'll get it in front of readers because they're reading their own stuff in front of people.
Okay.
Another out of the box one that's out of the box that I actually tried this year. A fellow author, friend, Joshua Robertson, started this whole new thing of his own, in which actually caught on. There's a handful of authors that are doing it on Instagram. Myself, I was doing it. I've slacked off on it, but I need to pick back up on doing it, is hashtag author365. And it's a 1-minute video talking about your day. What'd you write? Did you edit? What did you work on your book cover? Did you do any marketing? Whatever it is you did when it comes to your writing or what's your books or something of that sort. And you just go on, do a selfie 1-minute video. Hey, this is Rich, so on and so forth. And you just give them a 1-minute story of what your day is like every single day for 365 days. Like I said, Joshua does it, and he is faithful. I follow him on Instagram, and I have the hashtag followed so that every night when I come home, I can go through and filter through and watch each video from hashtag author365 on my Instagram thing. And and it's huge. That it's actually gained some ground with these guys doing it, and it's very new. He just started doing it early, I think it was early spring of this year or something like that. And quite a few authors have actually stepped up and started doing it as well. And it's kind of catchy, and I think it catches people's attention. And you think about it, 90% of our attention spans with our daily lives is about 60 seconds. So if you can capture your audience for 60 seconds a day and tell them what you're doing, what your work in progress is, how things are going with it. Did you have to edit it? Did you have to delete a whole half a book because you didn't like what was happening? You could, in that you could also become your characters, use your characters in that 1-minute video. I mean, there's just so many different things that you can use and do with it.
All right, guys, I've got to be wrapping up for the night here, unfortunately. I've got to be getting to bed here, but it was a joy to have you.
Anyway, I think we're just about done, Jason. So
okay.
Right? Anybody else want to add to this real quick?
Yeah, just a quick one. I think something that's pretty helpful is more of a generic one, is finding a way to utilize another skill that you have. I've seen authors that somehow mix in their baking with it. They tend to write more like either literary-based stuff or comedy-based stuff or romance. So it seems to fit kind of well. I guess you could do it with horror too. Make some skull cookies, but basically finding a skill that you're good at. Like for me, I love playing around with experimental noise music. So I make weird ambient sounds that accompany the books. So it's another way to cross market your book by introducing another media or nothing to consume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very interesting.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to turn this over to Joe and encourage everyone to check out the chat later when it reposts. We had a lot of good conversation in the live chat, and I think YouTube now keeps it. Am I wrong, Joe?
Yep. No, they keep it there.
Okay.
All right. So, Jason, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, and then you can bow out gracefully, my friend.
All right. Well, guys, it's been great to be on the show. You can find me at Amazon, any of the online retailers, you can find me. And my new book is Whispers in the Shadows. It just released on the 10th. It is a suspense thriller. Hopefully someone will check it out. And I have 2 more new releases coming up very soon through Evolved Publishing. So I've got to head in for the night, but it was very good to be on with you guys and chatting, and hopefully I was able to give some insights that aren't completely idiotic. But that's it. So I'm gonna go tuck some kids in bed, guys.
See you.
See you.
Have a good night. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Con, do you want to say where everybody can find you?
Yeah, you can find my stuff on Amazon and Kobo. If you search for Con Lavery, you can find me on my website, which is conlavery.com. Pretty active on Instagram and Facebook. And the latest book that came out was Yegman, which is this book here. And I've got 2 things coming out this month. One is a short story, and one is the 3rd book to the fantasy series, both launching at the Edmonton Comic Expo. So I'll be posting about that online for both of them.
Awesome. All right, Richard, you want to tell everybody where they can find you?
Yep. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can find my books also on Amazon, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, Smashwords. I have some of my titles over there. And you can also find me lingering around my themed blog, authorrichardwhite.com, where I wander around the fiction to find the truth.
Tell everybody your alias.
My what?
Your alias.
My pseudonym. I also have a pseudonym you can find me under my Western fiction. That is Shotgun Bow Rivers. So you can find me over there at shotgunbowrivers.com. My website, authorrichardwhite.com, is linked to that page as well. So if you find me on authorrichardwhite.com, you can also find the information for my Western fiction and my pseudonym, Shotgun Bow Rivers.
Thank you, sir. All right, Julie?
Again, I'm Julie, and I write under JM Northup. Pretty much all of my sites are JM Northup, so jmnorthup.com or author JM Northup. I am a KDP exclusive for ebooks, but you can get my paperback from any other retailers, including going into your local bookstores and doing special orders. They don't carry it in the bookstore, but you can order it through any bookstore. I usually write in young adult, new adult, but I do have stuff in all genres. And under my publishing label, Norms Triad Publications, I run all of the websites for that, so you can correspond with me directly through any of those.
Awesome. All right. And to our awesome host, who was awesome as always, Marnie, go for it.
Marnie Cate. You can find me at marniecate.com, which is cat with an E, so C-A-T-E. My books are being relaunched. They've been revamped, and they are fantastic. Remember's out. Exigency was #1 released in Goddesses a couple weeks ago, and it is now 99 cents today, so super excited. And then tomorrow or the next day, Maisie is going to be out in our world. So I'm very excited. My 3 Protectors books are back. And if you're not feeling magical or want to read something a little more gritty, check out my Chasing Caitlin, which is a women's literature fiction, taking a different perspective on women's issues. So I hope everyone will enjoy that. So that's it.
Awesome. And I'm Joe Compton, and I am the author of the crime thriller Amongst the Killing, and I have the sequel coming out soon called We the Moral Majority. And of course, I run and operate this wonderful channel called GoIndieNow. Again, I'll reiterate what Marty said. The chat was wonderful tonight. You guys were awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of what we do and how we do it, and for interacting with us. It was really awesome to have that interaction and to have you guys say all that you said, and it was really great. And thank you so much to all of our panelists for being here. And just we have our if you're watching this live, which most of you are now, we have our This Week in Indie show coming up on Sunday, which all of these wonderful people that you see currently are going to join me for here in a minute. We're going to go into another room and do another chat, and you'll get to see that on Sunday, and that'll be part of our roundtable for This Week in Indies. And then we also have our flagship show coming up in a couple weeks, and we've got more stuff on the horizon. Definitely go check us out and join our group if you haven't been to our group, Think Tank. GoIndieNow Think Tank. We'd love to have you there, of course. And with that, I say it's always time to go indie now, and we'll see you again next time. All right, everybody.